Hey guys, Speed here, and today I'm bringing you a gameplay analysis for Mars. We're going to be looking at J-Storm Moo's gameplay. He's one of the top carry players in NA, and he's playing Mars, and he had a very good game. His team did end up losing, however, I think how he played the hero and his item build is around the lines that you should be going in your games. So let's go over it and talk about what he does so that you can apply it into your games for the future. Before we jump into the video, I want to let you guys know that you can check out guides just like this one made by top tier pros over at gameleap.com. We have thousands of guides that can teach you the game of Dota 2 in depth and help you gain MMR much quicker than you usually would. Now let's jump into it. Now the first thing you want to note is that you can use the spear to easily secure first turn. As you see here, you pierce them to the wall. It's very simple, very straightforward, and a great way to actually get harass. Notice it even picks them up a kill. So level 1, I think spear is pretty much always your ability now. Your passive is actually pretty good for trading, and for that, if you're in the off lane and you feel like you can't do damage or pressure, then I would recommend taking your E. However, for there, because he's in a kill lane, it's quite beneficial for him to take the Q. So Mars is a hero that, in my opinion, has utility in his ability to clear creep waves and control fights. So if you don't know too much about Mars, I'm going to briefly go over the abilities now. His Q is a spear that you throw, and if it pierces to a tree, a wall, or a building, it will stun them. As you see here, it pierces the clockwork to the tree, and it stuns him. So pretty straightforward ability. It's kind of a skill shot, so that's fun. But it's actually a pretty high mana cost at level 1. It is 100 mana, pretty low cooldown of 14 seconds, and does 100 damage. Pretty long stun as well, so this spell is quite good for trading in the early game. There's obviously a ton of trees around, so it's very, very easy to actually pin people in the early game. Yeah, so what you're going to notice is that he then takes his next point into his W. Now, the spell actually, level 1, is a very good trading spell, simply because it only costs 55 mana for a mini crit. In fact, that even does extra damage to heroes, 25, so in the early game, that's quite noticeable, right? Especially considering you crit with it. You notice then he puts his second point into the rebuke. It doesn't scale like too bad in mana, only 5 more mana, and it increases the crit by quite a bit. So I think this is just his idea of the value trading spell, and also he's buying strength, right? Buying bracers with it, which increases his damage quite significantly. And let's now relook at that play right there. This is how you can get maximum efficiency and really make sure you get a lot of right clicks. If you have a setup stun, pretty much you want to stun and then throw them back towards a tree that's farther away and towards your tower. This can be very dangerous in the laning stage, so what I think people would do with this at some point is maybe you'll have a Bane, you can sleep them here, and then just spear them into a tree near the tower, and that will do a ton of damage. That's a pretty crazy combo that I think people are definitely going to incorporate eventually, because I think it's one of the best ways to play this hero as a support, or even just get value as a core in the laning stage. So the next thing I want to talk about is passive. So you notice here he has a point in his passive, and pretty much if they hit him from the front, he just takes a lot less damage. Right? If you have a stout shield and you get a proc from the stout shield and are facing them with your passive, you're going to take almost no damage. This hero is pretty insane in that regard, where he's just really hard to kill because he can get you off him in 2 ways. Right? He can bump you off with his rebuke, or he can use the Spear of Mars to push people away. As you noticed in the laning stage, he used the spear to get the Grimstroke off of him, or off of his teammate when he had Ink Swell up. So there's a lot of utility in this spell. Basically, it's a great positioning spell, and a reason why I think people are going to be going Blink Dagger on Mars, pretty much, or potential value I see in this hero, is his ability to reposition enemy heroes. Basically, what I'm saying is, similar to Magnus's Skewer, you can skewer people with your spear and push them out of position towards your team, which has a lot of value considering it stuns as well. Even better, much better than Skewer in that regard. How I'm going to recommend you play Mars on the laning stage is by using your W to harass pretty much whenever it's off cooldown. It's a very low mana spell and a low cooldown, so you can use the spell to harass quite efficiently, especially if you're maxing it out. If you're maxing it out, you pretty much want to cast it off cooldown in order to harass your enemies, because your hero doesn't actually have a great way to trade. In fact, I don't think Mars is particularly good in the laning stage, simply because you don't really have an innate spell that allows you to disengage or re-engage. Now, what is important to note about Mars is that he's a very tanky hero, so you can trade if you put a point in your passive. So what I would recommend is you want at least 1 point in your passive, because 25% damage reduction is very notable. I'm personally not sure, and I don't think anyone is really sure if you're supposed to max out Spear or your Rebuke yet. However, if you're a carry, I would recommend going Rebuke, but if you're more of an offlaner and looking to just pick up kills, then I think Spear is better in combination with your Arena of Blood. As we will see here, the main combo on your hero, and what you want to be doing every single game, is you put up your ultimate. If you're not sure what it does, it summons this arena, and then if you bump people into the shields will do damage. However, what is notable about it is that the spear will stick them to the wall, and then the shields will hit them. In addition, you can use the W to bounce them back into the walls once again. So this is a very low cooldown spell, only 90 seconds in the early game. It's relatively low. That almost guarantees you Clocker's a little bit upset. That nearly guarantees you a kill on any hero, I would say like below half HP, as it is a 5-second duration and they can't disengage nearly at all. However, what you want to note about it is that you can blink out of it, you can use a spell like Swashbuckle out of it. There actually is a lot of ways to get out of it, including spell immunity. So heroes like Jug and Lifestealer, in my opinion, hard counter Mars, simply because a lot of your spells do not pierce immunity, right? You can spin away from Spear, you can spin out of the arena. This hero has a large weakness where I don't think he's particularly good against BKB cores in the late game, simply because they can all just disengage from his combo, which he nearly entirely relies on to do damage. If you don't have your ultimate up, I actually think your hero is quite weak, and what you want to be doing in that downtime is pushing out waves. But we'll see how Move plays with this in the mid game. Another thing to note, right here, if I go back a little bit, is that you can actually tank towers with your shield. So what people might do, and what I'm potentially expecting, is some sort of like a tower push Mars in a sense, where if you max your passive and just hold it towards the tower with a Vanguard, I think you'll take almost no damage, which seems super valuable in some games. However, if you do this build, you're going to lack some damage, but what is important to note is that most of your damage actually just comes from your spells and your ultimate, so I don't think it's too bad to go defensive items. However, I'm a big fan of the phase boost into drums. I think just basically letting your hero be in position and always get in range for your ultimate is the best way to maximize damage, especially in the early game. If you go something like Blink, you're going to struggle to do things on your ultimate's downtime, and if you go a Vanguard build, the only thing you really can do is pressure towers, as you're going to lack damage. So I think the phase boost drums build is a nice mix that people will be going, because as you can see, even at level 7 with just a wand and a mango, he has 6 HP regen. So your hero has pretty high HP regen as is, so you don't necessarily need a Vanguard for HP regen. However, a item that I personally would recommend you buying in the early game is Soul Ring. The hero is strength, obviously, and naturally needs a lot of mana and has pretty decent HP regen, and for that, what I would say is you want to always have enough mana for your ultimate and your spear. So because of that, I would heavily recommend buying a Soul Ring in the early game. I think there's a ton of utility, especially because your hero has the ability to one-shot creep waves when you have your spear and W maxed out. So as a result, you always want to have mana, but I don't think Bottle is that great because it doesn't give you stats, where Soul Ring actually does give you quite a bit of damage that works well with your crit. So personally, that is my mini tip on Mars, and it definitely an item that I think will gain popularity on the hero. Okay, upcoming here, we're going to note a pretty comical interaction where he puts up his wall, and because the clockwork keeps getting bounced back into it, he's just taking damage. So basically, if you can trap people inside of the walls and get them close to it, like a spell with shards or your spear or any other stun that keeps them by the wall, maybe even a fissure, I can see some really funny combos, just basically where you put up the wall, you fissure someone next to the wall shield guys, whatever you want to call them, is Ash Legion, and then they'll just get stuck there bouncing back and forth. And I think those combos could be quite legitimate in some regard, just because of how much damage they do and how easy it is, simply because you're going to have a setup stun for the Fissure. Let's say you want to do the Fissure combo, you just Spear of Mars into the wall, and then throw up a Fissure. So I don't think it's a hard combo, but I think it's a super high damage combo that could secure you a kill on almost every single hero in Dota. So Definitely recommend trying that out sometime. I'm probably going to try it out myself when I get the chance. So an important mechanic to note here that I just realized in this replay is that your ultimate, the push, does not cancel TPs, so do not try to use it to cancel TPs, as you will just lose all the value from it. Definitely not worth it to do that. However, if you feel like there's nothing around and you want to use to set up a spear, then that is a great way to actually cancel the TP. So the next item Moo is going is Desolator. Now I think for carry build you want to go some sort of movement speed Deso build, simply because you also get a movement speed talent. In addition, with the phase boots and drums, you're going to move at a clearly super high 411 movement speed, and with phase boots and drums active, you're going to run at nearly haste, which is incredible, absolutely incredible for a hero that's so tanky. You're going to notice he's also going to try to buy some casual clarities. This hero definitely has some mana problems, simply because if you want to farm with it, you're naturally going to want to cast your spells to farm. Now let's talk about basic spell casting on this hero. So first thing you want to note is that your ultimate is great at isolating heroes. Basically, he could have casted it here, however he tried to use a spear instead. However, when the Dazzle is trying to disengage, it's very good for catching heroes, as it will constantly just bounce them back in and prevent them from disengaging. So definitely one of the better teamfight spells in the game, simply because enemy heroes cannot walk into it, but allied heroes can. However, as I mentioned previously, you can get out of it with BKB, you can blink out of it, and you can use mobility spells out of it. So do not think you were trapped in there if you are one of those heroes that has an exception to the wall. In addition, what we probably won't see in this game, unless I really look closely, is that if someone is trying to attack into the Mars ultimate, all physical damage attacks will not make it in. So if a sniper is trying to shoot someone inside the ring, such as you, it will not work, right? His damage, his attacks will just get blocked by the outside, so you're very good against range cores. However, you can cast spells, so things like Laguna Blade or Nature's Prophet ult all can go inside of the ult. It's not like they just get completely phased out and you're protected. It's just very good against ranged carries such as Drow. So I do see kind of a major problem of this hero as a carry, and a reason why I think he's probably better as some utility offlaner is because you don't really farm that fast. Now you can clear waves relatively well, which I think is quite valuable. However, when it comes to farming jungle in games where you're behind, I think you're really going to struggle for the most part, and for that, it kind of puts you in this weird spot where if you don't max your W, you're going to have real issues farming and kind of lose some of the utility you would get from maxing Spear. However, if you're looking to just farm and be more of a carry, then I would highly recommend the build and moves going here where you max out the Rebuke, and then if you feel like there's damage you want to block with Bulwark, then I would max it out. However, in this game, I think I would have preferred to see him max out his Q so he has more kill potential on the AM and the Dazzle. However, the hero's new, and what I'm saying, I don't know if it's 100% right, but I also don't think Moon knows exactly what is perfect. Right? People are going to be testing things out, and for that, I would recommend most games maxing your Q and your W with only 1 point in Bulwark, simply because you're tanky as is with all of your other defensive spells, or potentially defensive spells. However, here we're going to notice one of the main benefits of your hero, actually, that does give you the potential to farm. When you have a Deso, or at least the items that he does, you do have the ability to one-shot melee creeps, which is a big deal for keeping farm efficiency up and pushing out lane creeps. In addition, as you can see, it does an insane amount of damage to this Dazzle here. It just right-clicks him down, basically. So that's definitely the power in this Deso build. You're still super tanky, especially because of your passive. And you'll notice here, he actually disengages from his ult. He walks out of it, right? You don't have to stay in it. Oh my god. Alright, let's watch that again. That was insane. But really, heads up play. I think for a lot of players, they think you kind of have to stay in your ultimate. However, he notices that he can just throw it down and walk out, right? You can use it to almost just trap heroes. Basically, they're all stuck in there. They don't know what to do. They want to run, but they can't run. And then he just bop! Really cool hero for that regard, where you do actually just have the ability to just leave them in there. So what I see potential in Marsis for is like running it in Drow strats potentially, or strats where you have other ranged cores, because you can basically just provide this frontline tank that locks people in and is very good at zoning out the enemy. And for that, I would definitely expect to see this hero in some sort of a push strat environment, because he is definitely one of the better utility heroes in the game. His ultimate provides, on a low cooldown, a 5 or I guess now 6 second disable that many heroes, especially the majority of these heroes, cannot get out of. Obviously AM does not have a problem, and is most likely one of the main reasons why they actually lose this game. I think Mars is quite bad against heroes like AM. Your spear is decent, however, it's not particularly reliable. It's somewhat of a skill shot, right? So I think that's part of the reason why he buys a blink, so it is more reliable, but still, definitely not a perfect stun. So I want to have you guys pay close attention to how he casts his spells here. So once again, when he drops his ultimate in this fight, he doesn't immediately look to go inside of it, right? If he just walks inside of it here, he's going to get controlled and die. Instead, he just leaves them all in to get stuck, and then when they start taking some damage, he bops them back into the wall. So you want to spear people into the wall and use your W to push them into the wall. Just your value in general is trapping them in, isolating heroes. Very, very good at isolating. And then after that, using your W and your Q to push them back into the wall for extra damage. As every time it hits an enemy hits the wall, it does 200 more damage at level 2, obviously 150 at level 1. Yeah, just in general, you are very, very good at isolating. So in the fights, pay attention. If you can get a 3 or 4 man ult, you do not necessarily have to stay inside of it, but tell your team, I caught 4 here, kill the AM on the outside, something of that sort. I think that is a great way to provide really nice teamfight control without putting yourself in jeopardy, even though you are tanky with, or you don't resist spells. So you have to be careful in that regard. Alright, I hope you guys have learned a lot about Mars. I'm super excited to try this hero for myself, as I think he's more of an off-laner than a safe laner, but that I'm not too sure of. Definitely let me know what you guys think Mars will be, whether it's a safe lane, mid laner, or off laner, or even a support. You know, I'm not really sure, but I'm interested to see how people begin to use the immense amount of utility that Mars provides, as well as the different builds that people will go in, because I've heard that Radiance is potentially good, I've heard that Armlet is good, this Phase Drums Deso build seems excellent as well, so I'm very, very excited to see all the different item builds, especially a little secret that I'm going to give you guys now. I think Meteor Hammer even might be pretty good, because you can spear into Meteor Hammer and do a ton of damage that way. In addition, you'll have a very nice way to clear waves, so who knows, there's so many options for this hero. And I'm really excited to see what people do to make Mars work, as it's a very, very interesting hero that's kind of a new concept of Dota, where you're almost a mix of DPS and utility that other heroes just don't really have. So thank you guys for watching, and like and subscribe if you want to see the channel grow and are looking for more educational Dota content that we post nearly daily. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.